Welcome to another sculpture talk with Michael Joy. This is where I'm sitting around jawing about some of my own artwork. And sometimes I think that an artist should just shut up. And other times it's helpful when an artist talks about the work, especially if you're actually interested in the work. I mean, I've seen entire books about like one piece of work and I'm like, oh, it's a little much. But I think a little helping hand is kind of fun here in this instance. And this is a sculpture that has a spirit. It's called Bird in the Hand. Bird in the Hand, and we have a video about this on our manufacturing platform, how it was made. It's, if you look closely, it has a casting of my hands that are organized in the shape of a shadow puppet that makes a bird in flight. So the sculpture is kind of this pretty intriguing little thing, but then its actual life comes on when you shine a light on it, because the shadow is what I would call the spirit of the piece. It's the bird in flight escaping its entrapments here. So a Bird in the Hand, I think it's an elegant piece actually, and I enjoyed the challenge of making this, and I have this piece in my house. I made a piece for a copy for my friend Bill, and he was like, "This is worth $100,000, this piece." He was so nice. He didn't write the check, but you know, he gave me some love. So, hey Bill, I miss you. This piece is called Carousel. It's very different than the other artwork that I made, because the other sculpture that I made, because I gave myself a different directive. This was I gave myself the specific intention to make a sculpture only using pieces that I had available to me. Conceptually, it's a piece that doesn't align with my normal wordplay and single concept, but it's this really quirky little surreal mashup. And what it is at top is there's a Ferris wheel that has different elements in it. It does have a chair, it may have a shell, a peach, these sorts of things. And then there's these two panels. The vertical panels were actually line casting clocks that I made, that I modified into this hold here. The base I struggled with. The base was supposed to be more of a ship type of thing, but I didn't like the way the points were at the tip of the bow and the stern, so I cut those off. And inside, I added a water value. There's a spigot in there, and then that was meant to look like it's turned on, and that all this furniture is floating in this environment inside here. And then there's a light switch over on one side, and then in the furniture pile there's a little white rabbit. It's just a surreal environment. I would say that it was a consciously intentionless piece, and its construction was quite tricky, because I had to get the thing to spin. It wasn't as easy, and then there's the hummingbird on one side has four wings to look like it's moving, and it has a bracket holding it. So there was a lot of technical challenges here for me that I don't know that they would be challenging these days, but it was at the time I made it. And it was challenging to put back together when I took it out of storage. And I'm like, how the hell did I build this thing? So that's Carousel. There's the carousel spinning. And this is filmed from the other side. There's a tiny little window, and when you look through the window, you see the white rabbit. These little hummingbirds screwed into the piece there. It was a technically challenging piece. It's not motorized, that's just a GIF. Okay, a play on a stage. This piece has quite a history with me. I kind of became obsessed with this idea because it was representative of my journey in craftsmanship. In art school, I built one of my first sculptures is I made this portrait of a National Geographic cover girl. She had this beautiful shawl on, and I sculpted it out of proportion and all that stuff, but I was really into it, but I couldn't do the eyes. And so I got frustrated with that piece. And I had this idea that if I cut it in sections, I can spin the portrait into a stairwell. And what happened was when I cut the slab right above the mouth, I really liked the way it looked. And I didn't have an idea, so I kept it wrapped in plastic for a while. And then I'm like, well, let's make that the stage. Let's make that the amphitheater. And so then I built these clay slabs that were stairs, and then I did this drapery. And I built this piece about 6 times. I don't know why, but each time I did something different, because I would build it and I go, oh, let me do something better, or oh, let me change something. Ultimately, we used this piece. I made the molds for the book Confectionery Art Casting that I wrote, and the chef used those molds to create this piece in chocolate, and it was kind of a neat step-by-step feature of this. I don't know that the piece was worth doing so many times, but I have it upstairs. This is a very simple piece, but it had some neat origins. After I closed my first business, I was taking care of my stepfather's old house. I had a lot of historical things in there, including old steamer trunks and suitcases. And I came across this suitcase, and it was at a time in my life where I wasn't where I wanted to be. It was a beautiful home, but I had no money. And I kind of came to the conclusion of I just need to appreciate wherever I am. And I thought that's what a traveler does, a moment's notice. It means in the sense of urgency, I'll be there in a moment's notice, but also from a Zen perspective, noticing the moment, being present, staying there. And I thought, if I am the suitcase, then I just need to notice things presented. And so I created this, it was actually a fancy casting, inlaid, and the color's not on top, the color was integral into the piece. And I just like the way that this looked. Kind of wherever you put it, it's not the suitcase, it's the view that the suitcase has, right? Not just the tourist. So a moment's notice. Let's see if it spins. And I remember having to make this piece, the handle at the top, because it looks like a suitcase, people's brains say, oh, I'm going to pick it up. And I knew that they were going to break it. So the handle is wired in such a way that it breaks off. It just slips out.
Okay, so you can't actually lift it.
You can't, yeah, it would break it. The interesting thing about this suitcase, if anybody ever made a fake, they won't know what's inside of it. And if you x-ray this bad boy, I'll know. I'll know.
Is there something inside of it?
There's something inside of it. I made two of these. One's green and one is this color. I favor this color.
Both of them have something inside?
Yes.
Different things?
Yes. And it's identifiable on x-ray.
But you won't say?
No, of course not.
Would you tell me off camera?
Yeah.
Okay.
Still life. Oh, back to Magritte. Here we are. Magritte has a picture where he has a blank, it's like a framed painting, but it's not on the wall, it's hanging down. The canvas is blank, but seated on top of the canvas is a bowl of fruit. So it's a painting of the painting with a bowl of fruit on top. It's a great little kind of viewpoint into it. And I thought, well, let me do my sculptural version here. And the sculptural version is that from everywhere you look from this piece, because it's circled in frames and has a frame on top, that it gives you a different perspective of a still life painting. The bowl of fruit is the same in the center, but this time the viewer changes the perspective of it. See, let me rotate it. You see? It's a different picture from all sides. Instead of a painting, paints it from one side and you're stuck. So a still life. This was tricky for me to build. This was when I was trying to figure out some shortcuts, but nonetheless, we got it. This piece is called Subconscious, and I had a bunch of old books around and I thought they looked really beautiful. And I'd molded them for different reasons. One of them was for the culinary, and I had this mold around and I thought, you know what? When a stack of books is sitting there, it looks like this dense, heavy weight. And I was interested in this idea that inside the book is words, which means inside the book there's a story, which means there's depth. And so I transmuted that into the physical space of inside of a book, and I created a mold situation that allowed for a staircase that goes down. It goes down another layer and another layer in there. So it's a pretty neat little sculpture built in sections. And this piece I actually gave to my ex-girlfriend, who still is a psychiatrist, and I thought that she was very drawn to it because of the aspects of the mind that she studied her whole life and things like this. So Subconscious, let's see if it rotates. Yeah, it has a similar coloration as the Metamorphosis, but I just like the density of the books, and yet there's this aha surprise. I remember I showed this piece one time in a gallery exhibition in Indiana, I think it was. And I was kind of lurking in the shadows, and I saw this one girl, and she was talking to her partner about it, his boyfriend or something, and she's like, oh my God, look at this sculpture. I mean, could you imagine how long it would take to sculpt those flowers on the top? And I was just like, oh, people don't know it's molded, you know? Because it's not really about whether I hand sculpted it or not, although it presents as a sophisticated hand-skilled talent. The mold making process is a skill set, but it's not the same as hitting it from scratch. You know, this is a running start, to say the least. Subconscious. All right, thanks for watching Sculpture Talk. There's a lot more to come. We'll hope you'll stay tuned.